Hello, everyone. This is Charles Harper, and we are going to go ahead and just kind of get started here. I'm a little under the weather, but I do have some things that I do want to share with you. I realize this is kind of the Memorial Day weekend, so I didn't expect a lot of people here tonight, but that is okay. I assumed that I wouldn't have a lot of questions. I do have some things that I do want to share with you. And a lot of them really have to do with some of the frameworks. And what I really want to do tonight is to give you some idea of how to look at the frameworks. And in particular, we start talking about, learning. In particular, some of the learning theory. I want to start by going through some of the resource section, and in particular, when we start talking about some of the resources, and I want to touch base first in just talking about doing things according to getting your courses done, and the reason I put these resources in here. Of course, one of the things that you're going to need in order to keep in contact with people, you need an autoresponder. Most of you probably already have one. If you don't have one, you can get Aweber and GetResponse. I probably don't have links in there, but you can certainly use the links that to get for Aweber and GetResponse. Now, in terms of membership site software, I mean, you can use whatever membership software you like. I've used S2 Member because it was free in the past. I've used InstaMember because it was affordable. Optimized Press has been one that I've used recently. I haven't used a membership plugin, and I have also used Rapid Action Profits, which is a little outdated because it doesn't use adaptive payments in terms of recruiting affiliates. But if you're not necessarily looking to use your membership site software to recruit your same affiliates, then Rapid Action Profits, it's still a very good piece of software. I think it's about $197, and it works just perfectly. In fact, Rapid Action Profits is what I'm using to administer any standalone product that I have. So for Loyalty Lock Pro and for Screencast University, I'm using Rapid Action Profits. So I don't have that in the resource section there. And main reason is most marketers don't use it. It is a little complicated to use. And once you do learn it, though, it really is a fantastic piece of software. Now, you can do when you're looking for content, of course, that you're going to transform into learning material. We produce PLR through Gain Mindshare. My wife and I also produce PLR through another brand, and then Jonathan Tang and I produce PLR. Okay, so that's your internet marketing resources. Now, I want to start talking to you a little bit about the references that I talk about in the course. And the main thing is I want to start by just looking at, give you a general overview of each of these learning theories, and then we're going to dive into each one of these as we go. Now, Malcolm Knowles is considered to be kind of the centerpiece of adult learning theory, and obviously he was a professor, and a lot of his theories are used for the construction of instructional technology theory, as well as any courses that are taught online. So everything that you're seeing in terms of online coursework at colleges, at universities, most of that is built on the theories of Malcolm Knowles. And he had a theory, and it was called adragogy, right? Adragogy. And the theory was basically that you want to move people toward being self-directed, that the best learner is going to be a self-directed learner. So now you might ask, now how does that even relate to internet marketing? And it does exactly. When you find people that are self-directed. In other words, you want to try to move them through your course, and you want to try to get them to self-identify, and you want to try to get them to move through as much of your course as you can, and try to motivate what is in them, whatever prompted them to buy the course, right? Anybody who buys a course is self-directed to some point. But now most people are probably not necessarily going to do everything that you want to see them do with the course. What is partially your responsibility is to try to move them from being dependent on you to being self-directed in the area that you are teaching them in. It's not just to transfer information, right? It's to move them to be able to take some action on their own. Now, again, I guess the goal is slightly different, but if you focus in that way, you're going to find yourself designing a course in a different way, right? We're going to talk about Gardner's multiple intelligences. You've probably heard of them in other areas, that, there's some people who just learn in different ways. And one of the ways that you can take advantage of that, of course, is that you can put your course in multiple modes so that your buyer can get them and they'll feel as if they've actually learned something. Troutman, teach what you know. Now, this is where this has been popularized by Eben Pagan and other people in internet marketing, and it's really I think a good way of being able to look at some of the different people that you want to speak to in your course. Now, we'll talk about that in a minute. Kolb and Fry, experiential learning. We'll talk a little bit about that. Now, the 10 principles of internet marketing, and those things are going to be important because anytime you're doing a make money online product, you want to make sure that you understand those 10 principles and where you are within the 10. And then you've probably viewed on any webinar I've done before, the 7 R's of info product creation and the 7 C's of content marketing. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Malcolm Knowles. Now, Malcolm Knowles says that adult learners are ideally internally motivated, and most of the people that are going to buy your courses are going to be internally motivated in some way. And what you want to do, if you can, is to acknowledge their life experience. In other words, you don't want to make it so that you are going to be their sole source of knowledge, right? You want to make sure that you affirm kind of their journey. And for example, you're doing a CPA marketing course, and you want to acknowledge the fact that maybe they already know how to get a website. You want to acknowledge the fact they already know how to get hosting. You want to acknowledge the fact that they already know how to do some things, even if you include tutorials for those areas that maybe are not as advanced. You don't want to make that the sole focus of the course. You want to make your focus of the course moving that person from point A to point B, but you want to do that by acknowledging the person's prior learning experience. He says that you want to make sure that your activities, right, in a learning environment, it should be goal oriented. So in other words, it's not subject based. It's not just to get a body of knowledge right into somebody's brain. It is to be goal oriented, relevancy oriented. In other words, you want to make sure that it is relevant to something that they are doing in their everyday life. So and when you're doing a make money online course, you will have accomplished that already. But you don't want to spend a lot of time on theory. You want to make sure that if your goal, right, the goal of your course is to help me to be able to drive traffic to a blog, that you don't spend time talking about or adding additional material that are going to take me off that one focus. Your course is going to be on selling or on selling, selling offline marketing services, right? That you show me that you make sure that the course is fully relevant to what I want to learn, that it's practical. So in other words, these are things that everybody should be able to understand and everybody should be able to do. If you do those things, then people are going to like and consume and desire your courses. If you don't, then you're going to find that people are not going to be willing to consume your courses, and that people have an expectation of respect from their peers and facilitator. There are some books there. I've got a link there for some books by Malcolm Knowles. You may not necessarily be interested in reading it. I did a lot of reading about Malcolm Knowles in graduate school. I will be doing some courses on Malcolm Knowles going forward, but that is to come later on in 2015. Now, let's talk about Gardner's multiple intelligences. I think you've probably heard of these things. I do want to spend a little time here. You probably have heard of this with respect to children, but I think this carries over into the marketplace. It definitely carries over into the workplace. Now, there are going to be some people that you're going to talk to. They're going to think about things in words. In other words, you're going to be able to reach them with auditory, right? So when they hear it, right, they know it. They can think in the words that you say. There are going to be some people who are going to be thinking in terms of logical, mathematical intelligence. So in other words, you just kind of lay out the argument logically, and people are going to get it. Now, again, don't think that just because you laid it out logically and mathematically, and this is one of the mistakes I used to make in the past, and it's not the mistake, and it's a mistake I don't make anymore. It's a mistake you don't want to make, is just by thinking that you laid out the argument that everybody's going to get it, right? And they're not, right? Some people are going to have to be shown, right? And that is why we do screencasting videos in the first place. Some people are visual spatial. In other words, you need to show them on screen what to do. And don't be, don't think that there's a task too small for you to display on the screen, right? When you're screencasting, assume that there are some people who will not learn unless you demonstrate it on screen, right? Some people have a musical intelligence, right? Their reasoning and calculating. That doesn't mean you have to play music. But that means that there's a part of them, the same part of them that allows them to enjoy music, is the same part of them that will allow them to consume and like your course. So you're going to have to appeal to them in a different way. You're going to have to give them things to reason through, right? Some people are bodily kinesthetic, and they're going to have to be asked to get up and do something with their hands, right? They're going to have to be asked to physically get involved with the lesson, right? The more you get them involved physically, right, doing something, not just clicking a mouse, and not just literally getting up from their chair and doing something, they get into a learning process, right? Some people are interpersonal, right? They have the ability to understand other people. So you get them involved with other people, right? You get them doing something with other people, they will learn. Some people are intrapersonal, right? You get them looking at themselves and they will learn, right? Some people are naturalists. You get them involved with the environment. So there are all of these. Gardner says that, a person could have 2 or 3 of these, right? But you want to, in a course, you want to try to appeal to as many of these as you can, because people learn and people grow, and people get smarter in different ways. And so most of us present linguistic or logical mathematical, and we think we've done our job, right? But we haven't sometimes, and there will be times and some material that you're going to present that way, and your audience isn't going to always get it, right? And so you're going to have to be willing to go beyond that in order to reach them. Now, I want to talk about, and I really like Steve Troutman, because and I wouldn't even call him a learning theorist, but this really, when it comes to internet marketing, right? And I think maybe some of the if you weren't necessarily you didn't do adult learning or instructional technology in graduate school, you might not be feeling that whole piece, Malcolm Knowles and Howard Gardner. But this Steve Troutman, I really think it's worth it. His book is worth a read. And I think that if you think through these frameworks, right, you will be able to reach most of the people with your internet marketing products. There are going to be some people that are why learners. They want to know why, right? Why does it work, right? And for some people, and obviously, you know, our industry is a what industry, right? In other words, show me what to do, show me what I can, you know, show me what to buy, what to do, and how to get there, right? And that's great, but some people want more than that, right? Some people, even if they get the what, they want to know why it works. Why is that? Why do I take this step? Why do I write my copy before I create my product? Why do I get a copywriter when you know, when a project hits this point? Right? They want to know why. And so for people who are going to be like that, it's important for you in your internet marketing products to reach those why learners when you can, right? Understanding them and really reaching out to them throughout the product, throughout your modules, giving them a reason and an explanation. Now, again, some people are going to be bored by that, right? And some people are not going to necessarily even want to hear so much about the why. It's not important to them. And again, you don't have to make your whole product about the why, but there are people for whom the what will not matter if you haven't explained the why. Okay, there are how does it work learners. In other words, it's not enough for them to know what to do. They want to know how the mechanism works, how the process works. They don't want to just know. They don't want to just know that you take your link and you put it inside of this software. They want you to explain to them how the software does what it does, how it places bookmarks, or how it you know, how it ranks you in Google. Don't just tell them that all you have to do is put your links in these boxes. Right? They need to know, how does it work? What does it do? What does the process do? And so when you explain that to them, they feel satisfied. They feel like they've gotten their money's worth. So there's some people who learn in that way. And then there are what if learners, right? There's some people who want to know the different scenarios. What if this happens? In other words, you need to have some case studies there for some people. In other words, what if, you know, I have what if I have a niche that is other. What if I have a niche other than weight loss? What if I have a niche other than make money online? Does this system work? What if learners have a totally different orientation to being able to process the learning, the learning process. And again, I really hope that you pick up the Teach What You Know article and the Teach What You Know article by Steve Troutman. Great stuff. I think it's very relevant for internet marketing. I've got a link there. If you don't want to use it, that's fine, but just go pick it up and read it anyway. Okay, Kolb and Frey, the experiential learner model. This is now here's and these guys. I think even though they're theorists, right, their model is very practical, and I think you'll get it, right? Get the learner to have concrete, tangible experiences, right? So let's think about this, you know, not just in every module, but by the end of the course, have you required, or have you at least urged your buyer to do something that gives them an experience? Right? If they have an experience with something, they're going to learn something, right? Again, I mean, if they haven't done anything other than read, if they have done anything, they haven't learned anything, right? You want to make sure that there is both observation and reflection on what they're experiencing. So in other words, you know, it's a good idea to put into a course where they get some feedback. Right now, and you know, when you put together a front end product and it's $9 or $17, it's not going to make a lot of sense for you to do that, right? But when you start going up in price and you start asking for a little more money for your products, you need to be willing to structure feedback into the process, right? That's why and this is just an aside. This is why your coaching program should cost more, right? Because you need to have time to do those things. You really should not do a coaching program unless it's a group coaching program for under in my opinion, $197 or $297, right? And even then, I mean, that's limited personal contact. When you think about the fact that you need to observe and feedback in order for them to make it work, right? You need to charge a little more. so that you can spend the time that's necessary to get them success. You want to have them form their own abstract concepts from their experiences. So in other words, you want to make sure that they have takeaways, right? They have their own interpretation. You get them results, but you let them interpret those results. You want them to be able to test their conclusions in different settings. So in other words, it's great that you do a case study. It's great that they see. You want to encourage them to take it back to their niche, to take it back to their product, to take it back to their website, right? You have to get them to do that in order for them to have an experience. If you can get them to do that in your course, right, then that's great. And that's going to that's going to enhance the learning process. It's going to help them to like your course more. And it's going to get them to really appreciate what it is that you're trying to do. Okay, Kolben Fry, there are some books I have available to you. Again, I mean, if you're not really into that kind of stuff, you're not necessarily going to go and get books by Kolben Fry. But again, if you just really apply those things, right, you're going to have a better course. You're going to have a better interaction with your people. Now, I will be doing some courses on Kolben Fry coming up in 2015, so you can be on the lookout for them. The 10 rules of internet marketing. If you've been on some webinars that I've done before, I'll spend a little bit of time here. You probably already know, if you've been on any of my webinars before, you know that Jay Abraham was the one that coined these phrases. I didn't come up with them. I wish I did. And they were restated and codified by other people, like Richard Johnson, who put together Hidden Marketing Assets, and Michael Sinoff, who put together the of Hidden Marketing Assets. And here's the thing, right? And they really do encompass college. And like some of you, I learned I guess it was the 5 P's of marketing. And those are great, except that they don't necessarily fully work for small business, right? They don't necessarily capture everything a small business needs to be doing to market their business. A small business needs to have a unique selling proposition, needs to know, why do people buy from you, right? Uniquely, right? A small business needs to have upsells and cross sells. They need to be able to take advantage of the fact that a buyer is there by giving them everything else they need to succeed or enjoy the product, right? A small business, and you know, you can consider yourself, your customers are certainly going to be small businesses, right? They're going to be solo businesses. So they fall into this place. And so whether or not you teach all of these things, you need to have the context in mind. And you need to know, if you're doing a make money online product, you need to know where, right, where on this map of marketing what you're talking about falls. Most of it is going to fall in one category, but what you need to do is you need to make sure that you aren't violating any of these principles, right? You aren't violating unique selling proposition. You aren't violating the upsells and cross-sell position. In other words, if even if you have a great product, if you're not taking advantage of the fact that your customer's going to need more stuff, they're going to buy it from somebody, right? Then you're not teaching your customers how to market. If you don't talk about list building in your product, right? Even if your product is not about list building, if you don't mention it, or you don't allude to it, or you don't assume it, right? Then again, and understanding that you're trying to keep your focus on one thing, you still need to be talking about list building to some degree. Alliances and joint ventures, right? You need to be talking about those things. And, there's always paid advertising, of course. Now, these are the 10 things of internet marketing. Public relations, right? Public relations, in other words, how do you relate to the people in the press, right? How do you relate to the people in the press? And I could spend a whole webinar on that, but community marketing and education. So in other words, are you out educating people about your product? Are you out educating people about how to solve their problem? This is where you're doing your webinars, your seminars, your talks, and your and things that you're in areas where you're just giving away free information and being a blessing to the community, right? Community marketing is basically being a member of your community. This might mean sponsoring something, but this might mean doing charity. This might mean, and you might say, well, I'm an online business owner. I don't need any of that stuff. That's why I do an online business, so I don't have to fool around with that stuff. I don't think that's true. Honestly, you're going to have people come to you, and you're going to have business come to you from unknown areas when you are a known commodity in your community. So what if they don't know what you do? Guess what? When you show up and you write a check, they'll take note of you, right? So don't worry if people say, well, I don't understand what you do as an internet marketer. Don't worry about that stuff, right? Be a member of the community, volunteer, right? They're going to want to know, well, hey man, how is it that you could be here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Why is it that you can be here on Tuesday at 10:30? What? But that's because I do internet marketing. What is that? Right? In other words, don't worry about the fact that you're an online business. Be a member of your community, right? Be charitable and be concerned, right? Be there. Okay. Direct marketing and copywriting. That is basically our lifeblood here in internet marketing. We do direct marketing and copywriting. We take those things seriously. Right. And so everything that we do just about in internet marketing is direct marketing, right? One to one. We write our sales letters one to one. We write our emails one to one. We do our copy one to one. Everything is one to one. Direct marketing is broader than that, but certainly, we all take direct marketing very seriously. This is, you could probably say this is part of internet marketing. I don't now. I think it's separate. I think content and publishing is, regardless of what you do, I think it's separate from internet marketing. I think it is. I think that if you are going to be an expert in an area, you need to be in Amazon. You need to be writing books or doing something, and you need to have a presence, not just on Google, but in other places where people read things, and other people where people experience content. So are you putting out audio content, video content? So you need to have some video. And again, I know that a lot of these things happen on the internet, but I think that content is a different animal. It's not just internet marketing, because it's not just SEO and social media. It's content. It is where you are demonstrating that you are an expert. Internet stuff, which is SEO and social media, right? Of course, how do you get traffic over the internet? Okay, and you should be looking at those things. And so those are the 10 things that you want to be thinking about, and 10 frameworks. We have talked about the 7 R's of internet marketing product creation. You start with your product by creating a result, right? So if you're going to teach people something, you start by with the fact that you have a result, right? And you want people to be able to get that result. You want that result to be repeatable, right? So when you're creating your product, you want to be recording your repetitive results. You want to come with research. You want to be able to demonstrate why it works. You want to make it relevant to the people. You want it to be reviewed by other people, and then you want to be able to then your course to reproduce this for your buyers. And finally, the other framework that I want to go through are the 7 C's of content creation. What I call care, right? In other words, make sure that your content demonstrates that you know that the other person is a real person. Excuse me. Continue, right? Which is basically about consistency. So content creation means that you have to be consistent at it. Right? Even if you do a once a month blog post, do it once a month, right? Be consistent about that. A challenge, okay? Don't accept conventional wisdom in your niche as fact. So don't talk about the same stuff in the same way as everybody else, right? Some things in your niche you're going to have to talk about because that's just what the professionals talk about. but you don't have to accept everybody's conventional wisdom as fact when you talk about it in your content. Converse, right? Add something to the conversation. So in other words, if you and I are in a conversation and all you're doing is you're just repeating what I said, or you're just restating what I said, then we're not having a conversation, right? We're not in a conversation. You're not adding anything, and so there's no need for you, right? So people have no need to read your content if all you're doing is just saying what everybody else says. You've got to be able to converse, right? Add something to the conversation, connect, right? In other words, if nobody in your target market is watching video, then don't do it, right? Don't spend your time there. Spend your time where your target market is, and then secondarily, right? If you're no good at, if you have a choice, right? Try to communicate where you're good at and where your customer likes most. If you're not good video, then figure out a way to do video where someone who's not good at video is going to do. I mean, nowadays you can do tutorial videos, you can do animated videos. There are a lot of ways to do video, right? But if your people don't like video, and you want to make sure that you are doing video, that you are doing the medium that they want to see you in, and then collect. Okay, content creation is really about collecting contact information. Don't let anyone leave your presence, right? If you know they like your stuff, without getting their contact information, and create. Okay, and here's what we're saying by that. Take your time and put something together that's worthwhile. People are taking their time out of the day to read something that you did or listen to something that you put together. So don't, content, be creative, right? Think through something. Don't just get something and read it. Don't just get PLR and read it, right? Put something into it that's going to matter. Okay. We talked in the course about goals and objectives. And of course, hopefully you will take this goals and objective worksheet in any course that you do, and you will tick off the things that you did and tick off the things that you don't do. And then what you want to start doing is measuring how well your courses fare in terms of people liking them and people not. So again, everyone, I realize that this is Memorial Day weekend, so not a lot of people are going to be around. Certainly, if you have any questions about any of this content, please let me know. I hope that the course has been as interesting for you as it was for me to create, and that you will take this extra information in this webinar. You'll be able to use it. Certainly, you should be able to expand on any of these frameworks to do your own course. Right, any of these frameworks will make a great course. I'm definitely going to be doing some, those of you who know me, I'm less concerned about the number to start with. I'm more concerned about having a product snowball, and for a lot of reasons. And those of you who've been on my webinars, you know that is a concept that I know will eventually, in any niche, pay you very well. So with that, thanks you everybody for being here, and I certainly hope to see you in another course. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.